I recently completed a 15-day ride in Nepal, so I thought I'd make a video to summarize some of the mistakes and lessons that I learned. This is about motorbiking, not about country-specific stuff, more about packing and that kind of thing, also a bit about group dynamics. But first, a very quick background about myself. I have extensive experience riding Vietnam, road journeys, ADV journeys, enduro journeys. It is my bread and butter. I've done some long trips in Laos and Cambodia, several two-stroke enduro trips in Romania, but interestingly, only one ADV ride outside of Vietnam, which was Kashmir, so plenty for me to learn still. This is now my second major ADV ride. Let's get going. The single biggest mistake everyone makes on a motorbike trip is overpacking. It wrecks the performance of the motorbike, becomes a nightmare to unload and load each day, and if you have too much stuff and luggage and in the wrong place on the bike, it can impact your standing position as well. This trip, Jeff had way too much stuff, severely impacting his holiday, but also impacting the experience of ours as a result. Renzo and Rob did quite well, but both commented they had too much in the end. And same goes for me. I really felt like I could have gone down in weight some more. I had too many electronics and also too many socks. The key takeaways: laundry in your sink is absolutely fine in any country. Really, you only need one riding clothes and maybe 2 sets of evening clothes. And when it comes to cold weather gear, use thermals. Don't pack gigantic puffer jackets, and invest in proper hiking gear when it comes to rain and cold weather stuff. Just get lightweight things, and as I say, go over to the hiking world, not the motorbiking world. Number 2, ADV gear is just not good. And this is now 2 out of 2 ADV rides I have done where everyone with traditional ADV gear gets regrets, not only on the weight, but the heat of the stuff. I am always in motocross or enduro gear with high quality hiking clothing for things like the rain, but everyone always envies me every single trip I do, regardless of whether it's an enduro trip, a road trip, or an ADV trip. So my recommendation is to look at the MX gear and hiking gear world and forget ADV specific stuff. Really, for these more off-road focused rides, almost avoid motorbike gear entirely. It's just too hot and heavy. And I've started to look at the mountain biking world. Don't rule that out. You get really great stuff and often at cheaper prices than the motorbiking gear. Number 3, rock straps are just non-negotiable. Luckily on this trip, most of us had rock straps, and that is why we had relatively few issues with luggage falling off bikes, and the guys were quite quick at loading up each morning. The whole group was experienced in this area. But had we all been with bungees, this trip would have been a nightmare. I have come to love my rock straps more than I could have imagined on this trip. Not only for luggage, but they came in handy for holding bike frames and things together as well. Do not do a serious trip without rock straps. Number 4, my Peak Design phone mount and Unihertz Titan phone. I've been testing this setup for a while, but this was the first real trip with it. Look, for my driving, quad lock just isn't good enough. It breaks with the hits I take. It's actually been a real problem for me over the years that quad lock was the best, but the best just isn't enough. And the tour guides at Ticket have struggled with this as well. Peak Design is not cheap, I'll tell you that, but the quality absolutely crushes quad lock. When it comes to phones, this Unihertz Titan is a beast. There is no need to mount your flagship to the bike and no need for big heavy phones either. I was the only one on this trip that had screen visible navigation open and ready on all terrain. Everyone else's equipment wasn't good enough for what we were doing. So I highly recommend a cheap, rugged Chinese phone and a Peak Design phone mount. Number 5, get your group to read the itinerary. Part of the problem for this latest trip was that the route couldn't be plotted or explained in any coherent way. The lines just weren't on the map. And also, mostly because there was just too many unknowns. Due to this, none of us, myself included, put any real effort into understanding the itinerary. And what made it worse, various members of the group pretended to understand the itinerary by running it through AI. Don't let this happen. This impacted the guide and led to the confusion of the group members getting upset sometimes. It was entirely our fault and not the guide's. I especially encourage for route studying if you are not the organizer of the holiday or you are likely to be the weakest or least fit rider in the team. The very least you can do is have a rough understanding of what is going on. Number 6, when things are going wrong and you are having to play catch up and adding extra hours, you need to have an agreement with the team if you are a group that wakes up early to catch up on time or a group that rides into the night to catch up time. There's value for both ideas. Whilst most teams will opt for waking up early, there are people and reasons for doing night drives instead at the end of the day, or to do things like skipping lunch. With our team, we had 2 riders wanting to keep breakfast comfortable and do night drives, and 2 members that wanted 5 a.m. wake-ups. The problem for Nepal is the locals don't wake up either, making the early start actually quite difficult. So you do need to bend to the culture of the country a little bit as well. Number 7, cameras and sharing. The first couple of days I managed to get the SD cards off the group and was backing up onto my laptop. But as I got tired and the days got longer, this started to fall through. Luckily, I managed to maintain consistent backups of one other member in the group, meaning I had my camera and his for a video edit. The other 2, I just couldn't get the data off them. Luckily for me, they live in Vietnam, and at the end of the journey, I was able to get the SD cards off them and backed up onto my server. There is a lot of play and a lot of tech to actually get backups of this amount of data off people. And look, Google Drive and Dropbox and other such services just don't work for massive downloads. So when your buddy says they will upload to Drive at the end of the trip, it doesn't count. You will never be seeing that footage. Secondly, these cloud platforms remove the date on the files, meaning you are left with an absolute mess, even if you do manage to download it. I am very familiar with this, and for myself and the guy who I was managing to get the data off live, I will back it up each day into days. This saves so much time in the video edit. You will need to create a live system on the tour for backing up your friends' cameras, assuming you're trying to make a video. And if you're not getting live backups on the tour, you will never be seeing that footage. Don't trust anyone. Same goes for people who are using phones all the time. You will never ever see the clips going onto that phone. If you are wanting the footage, be direct and upfront to the person who is ultimately going to be dumping it into the void to never be seen again. Number 8, I have a rule which is 4 days drive, 1 day rest. I know this rule so well, and every trip I break it. If you are driving long, hard hours, whether it be road, ADV, or off-road, you get knackered after 4 days. You have got to throw in that 5th rest day. This was a particularly tough trip, partly because of the rattly nature of the bikes, but there is no doubt in my mind the lack of rest days took a toll on the overall enjoyment of the trip. Being well rested is far more important than seeing one more waterfall or one more key site. These trips ultimately are about the people you are with, not actually about the driving itself. The driving is just a way to share the experience with the people, but it doesn't actually create the holiday. You need a happy, well-rested group and no one on the team to be stressed. Number 9, try to avoid switching bikes with people if possible. I am someone who is happy to drive the worst bike, or to play around with people and do bike switching and comparisons, even if only temporary and for a quick chat 30 minutes later. The issue comes when damage is found on the bike and we no longer really know who did it. Even if the group has decided that all damages will be a split pot, you still now have your bike damaged and the rest of your trip impacted. For us, whilst my group was never going to fight over such trivial matters, the guy didn't really know this, and he clearly got mildly worried or upset when he no longer knew who to bill for the blatant customer-related damages to the bike. Myself and the guy involved bantered a bit playfully, blaming each other, but the guide wasn't really catching on to the banter. So sure, if you are the strongest rider in the group and someone clearly needs help with their bike, then go ahead and ride their bike temporarily. But as soon as you can resolve the issue, switch back to your starting bikes again, even if you as the strongest rider are on the best bike. There are plenty of things this group got right, and many other groups would fall into the pitfalls, so I'll drop them in here. Everyone needs to have water bladders. This is just a thing you have to have on a motorbike. There needs to be at least one toolkit in the group, and someone who actually knows how to use it. Even if it is ADV people are wearing, you in particular need to have boots. Google Maps sharing is super helpful and everyone should be doing it at the start of the trip. No excuses. Although no one understood the route on this trip, all the riders had the capabilities and the skill set to get to the destination if they got separated. We did quite a good job as a team at splitting the photography jobs. In other words, some people designated to taking still pictures, others to video, and others to B-roll. And this worked astonishingly well for the final edit, and we captured a great range of media. Lastly, 3 out of the 4 of us more or less got the packing right, and this was a very big win. I hope this has been helpful.